How to know you are dating a psychopath. Clinically speaking, a psychopath is someone with a lack of empathy who showcases a general combination of antisocial behaviors. If the person you're dating has demonstrated some red flags when it comes to the way they process the emotions of others, you might be wondering if they're a psychopath. We'll walk you through a variety of key signs you may want to look out for if you're trying to figure out if the person you're seeing is right for you. 1. They never feel guilty. Struggle to understand the feelings of other people. As a result, they don't really get why they should feel anything at all whenever something bad happens to someone else, even when it's their fault. If your date has ever caused someone pain and they didn't appear to be sad about it, it's a huge sign they're psychopathic. For example, if you two were on a date and they accidentally said something that hurt your feelings, a non-psychopath would likely say, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I'm so sorry." A psychopath might be confused, or act like they don't understand why they should apologize. 2. They're a liar when it serves them. If you catch your date being frequently dishonest, it's a bad sign. Psychopaths tend to lie a lot, even when it comes to very minor issues. However, psychopaths don't tend to lie compulsively, they lie very intentionally for personal gain. One or two little white lies may not mean anything, but if your date seems to tell fibs regularly for their personal benefit, they may be a psychopath. For example, a psychopath may not lie about a criminal history when you ask them about it on a date if you ask them in an upbeat and intrigued manner. However, if you're suspicious or express concern when you ask them, they might lie to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. This kind of lying often takes the form of gaslighting, which is where someone tells untruths to the point that the other person begins questioning their reality. This is a form of abuse, so get away if your date does this. 3. They're super charismatic. Psychopaths can turn the charm on to get what they want. If the person you're dating can go from calm and unemotional to excessively witty on a dime, they may be a psychopath. This one can be a little hard to pick up on due to the fact that you get lost in all of their smooth talking. But if you find them turning the charm on and off at will for self-serving reasons, it could be a sign. If your date basically swept you off of your feet early on but now their charm kind of feels fake, it's a big sign that you're dating a psychopath. 4. They don't have a lot of close friends. They may be charming, but that charm is rarely reflected in their social circle. A super charismatic person should have no problem making close friends, right? A psychopath's manipulative behaviors may come off as charisma in the short term, but people tend to not trust them once they show their true colors. If your date is all the rage at parties but never mentions a best friend, keep an eye out for other psychopathic behaviors. Ask your date about their close friends. If they don't have a whole lot to say about them, or they don't express a ton of love or fondness, it might be a massive red flag. The other component here is that psychopaths don't really waste time on things that don't benefit them. A large friend group often involves checking in with people, investing time, gift buying, etc. Psychopaths may shy away from all of that stuff since there isn't anything in it for them. 5. They have a kind of flat, detached personality. Psychopaths tend to come off as very emotionally shallow. While your date may seem super engaged when there's something in it for them, your date may seem like they're not even there in periods of downtime or calm. It's just very difficult to keep the charade up all the time, and your date may occasionally come off as fake when they're just being themselves. Try asking your date how they feel about things you haven't expressed appreciation for yet, like a specific movie, activity, or food. A psychopath may have trouble giving you something resembling a genuine response, since they won't know what you want to hear. 6. They're impulsive and crave stimulation. Your date may be an addict or adrenaline junkie if they're a psychopath. Due to the fact that psychopaths have a kind of flat emotional experience, they often seek out extreme forms of stimulation to feel something. This can take the form of an addiction, or it may be something more benign like an intense sexual kink, or interest in boxing. If your date seems to just generally enjoy extreme things, it's another big sign. One study on prison populations and psychopathy found that almost half of all incarcerated psychopaths had a history of drug or alcohol abuse. 7. They are assertive and power-hungry. Psychopaths really dislike being out of control or giving up authority. Is your date exceptionally ambitious? This energy may feel like self-assurance or confidence at first, but you may realize this has more to do with the desire to be in control. This is part of why psychopaths tend to be so good at charming people. It's a lot easier to get what you want if you can talk your way in and out of anything. For example, your date may insist on ordering for you at a restaurant, or actively shoot you down when you suggest the two of you go somewhere. 8. They're extremely good under pressure. Due to their detachment, psychopaths tend to stay cool in tough spots. The fact that psychopaths don't dedicate a ton of time fixating on how their actions impact others helps them stay focused and calm in situations that may overwhelm others. If your date never loses their composure in arguments, being unprepared doesn't bother them, or they're laid back in the face of tough deadlines, they may be psychopathic. This, combined with their conversational charm, is often why psychopaths are very successful. If your date has a great job, they don't fixate on things that bother them, and they've got a detached coldness, keep your eyes open for more signs. 9. They think they're better than everyone else. Often, there will be very little evidence for their claims of greatness. Everybody has some kind of fear, insecurity, or worry about themselves. If your date seems to be in perpetual love with themselves despite the fact that they really aren't that great, they're likely a psychopath. At bare minimum, they're probably a narcissist. This may even take the form of what feels like neglect to you. If you feel like your date cares more about themselves than you, your gut may be telling you something. You might notice your date levels unfair accusations or exhibits jealousy towards people who do something better than them. 10. They have a cynical worldview. A negative attitude is extremely common among psychopaths. While they may not express it at a dinner party in front of others, your date may come off as a little pessimistic or negative when they let their guard down around you. This mostly stems from the fact that psychopaths assume other people think and feel the way they do. If they're selfish and cold inside, they'll see the world that way, too. Your date may take surprisingly uncompassionate political positions, or hold beliefs that sound crazy to you. They may not express positive feelings for the future, or tell you about how they think everything is worse than it used to be. This can often take on a kind of conspiratorial attitude. If your date talks about how people want to get them, or mentions people ganging up on them at work or school, it may be a bad sign. 11. They're confused by consequences. A psychopathic date won't understand the impact of their actions. Since psychopaths aren't capable of understanding why someone would feel the way they do, they often get in trouble for failing to understand the ramifications of the things they do and say. If your date regularly upsets you, on accident, they're probably telling the truth. A psychopath will do upsetting things entirely by mistake just because they struggle to understand emotions. For example, your date may say something insensitive that upsets you, and seem completely bewildered when you ask them why they're being rude, or outright cruel. 12. They understand right and wrong. Psychopaths totally understand what makes something good or bad. One of the key features of psychopathy is the intellectual understanding of ethics. In other words, they know when something is right or wrong, they just don't necessarily care. This may play out in your restorative conversations. If the two of you get into an argument and you try to make up, they may say things like, "I totally understand why I was in the wrong," but turn around and do something similarly upsetting on your next date. 13. They have experience with violence or crime. Psychopaths typically have a troubling personal history. Criminals and people with rougher upbringings are not automatically psychopaths, but many psychopaths do have something dark in their past. Try not to jump to any crazy conclusions here. Many people with rougher backgrounds go on to lead vibrant, productive, and fulfilling lives. But if they have a criminal record alongside a bunch of other signs of psychopathy, it may be telling.